Hi, I'm DG Wright, and this is the official channel of the BLS Coin Collectors Club, bringing you news and insight from the fascinating world of numismatics. If you enjoy my content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Hello everyone, it's late night or early morning if you like on Monday the 21st of April 2025. This is a bit of an impromptu video just to show off a few new coins that I got recently and throw a few others into the mix that I've had for a while, but I just feel like showing them off right now. So without further ado, let's get into it. Doing things a little differently today, a little bit more like episode 13. Instead of splitting things up into separate videos and writing a script and all that like I usually do, I've just got a bunch of coins in front of me in a container and I'm just going to grab them one by one and show them off. So without further ado, let's go. What have we got here? 1919 KN penny. And I drop it straight away. That's fun. So this one is not one of my new acquisitions. It's one I've had for a while. Got it last year or the year before, something like that. But I think I mentioned in a previous video that during the reign of George V, Heaton Works in Birmingham and the King's Norton Metal Company, also in Birmingham, both helped with striking pennies. This is the rarest of the lot, actually, the 1919 penny with the KN mint mark. I don't know if I can zoom in here. Hopefully I can get this to focus. Maybe not. But there we go. That's the KN mint mark to the left of the date in the exerg there. And that stands for King Norton. Only about 600,000 of these were made, the KN 1919 penny. So yeah, that's the scarcest of the George V mint mark pennies, and that's a coin. This is another one that isn't a recent acquisition. It's just one that I'm fond of. It's an 1854 halfpenny. Similar to the 1858 penny that I showed off in the previous video, made of pure copper. Most of these were recalled to the mints during the 1870s after they were demonetized when the base metal coins were replaced with bronze, but a fair few of them escaped into coin collections and they can still be found today. This one is in pretty decent condition. It's actually better condition than the 1858 penny, although it has been, I don't know what's happened to it, it's been dinged or something on this side. But anyway, 1854 halfpenny there. And oh, I think this is one of the new ones. Something we don't see very often on this channel, because I don't have a lot of them, is silver shillings. This one is from George V's third or fourth coinage of 1927. Features the modified effigy of the king, first introduced in 1926 on the base metal coinage and in 1927 on the silver coins. The silver shillings of George V from 1920 onwards were made from 50% silver, 50% copper, due to the increase in price of silver and inflation in general after the First World War. So this is a 1927 specimen, fairly worn but still reasonably pleasant to look at. Doesn't have any major damage or a lot of discoloration, so that's a pretty decent piece. I got this as part of a lot of 26 coins that I bought last week, I believe, or got last week. It arrived recently, anyway. You can tell I haven't scripted this at all. This is just me rambling on. Anyway, 1927 shilling. So in 1983, the UK replaced its aging pound note, paper money, with a pound coin made of brass, similar to the old brass threepences that were circulated in the 1930s to 1960s. Now, obviously these are round, unlike the brass threepences, which are 12-sided, but made of the same metal, about the same size too. So these were first struck in 1983. They continued to be struck until 2017 when they were replaced with a bimetallic 12-sided pound coin. These have now been demonetized and taken out of circulation. This one is from 1992. The obverse design always featured a portrait of the Queen, but the reverse design tended to be switched up every year. The 1992 pound coin features the same reverse design as that from 1987, which is the Royal Oak of England with a crown surrounding its trunk. So that's a 1992 pound coin. Used to be able to spend them, can't anymore. We got here. It's a little discoloured on the reverse, but otherwise in good condition. It is a 1919 penny. As you can see, it does not have a mint mark, so it's a standard 1919 penny. Similar discoloration there on the obverse, but otherwise it looks to be in probably very fine condition, VF, I would say. Oh, and there's a good example of ghosting as well. You can see the outline of the king's head coming through the reverse of the coin. That's because the reverse was struck in very low relief. Because the obverse was struck more deeply, the obverse design tended to show through on the reverse on the coins of George V. Various attempts were made to prevent it, such as the 1915 and 1916 recessed ear varieties on the pennies, and the 1926 modified effigy, which is also used on the 1927 penny. Finally, the ghosting effect disappeared when the small head was introduced in 1928. This is a 1919. It looks to be in pretty good condition, I'd say. So probably VF, maybe even a little better. Shame about the discoloration, but nothing's perfect, so on we go. There's another penny. 1920. Don't see any ghosting on that one. It's odd that some of them have it, some of them don't. Fairly typical 1920. Reasonable condition, not too bad. Let's zoom in a little there. The 1920 penny has a very rare variant where there's a wider space between the gra and the Brit in the obverse legend, and the colon is closer to the gra, but it looks pretty central here. This is This is one of the common variety, which I didn't expect anything else because the other one is exceedingly rare. You'd be looking at probably a £4,000 or £5,000 coin in this condition. So that is 1920. Let's squiggle through here. Actually, let's pull some of these out so I don't go through them again. Where's that KN? There it is. Sorry about that. Another penny. We got a 1900 here. 1900 was the penultimate year of the reign of Queen Victoria. She reigned from 1837 to 1901. She died early in 1901, so all the 1901 coins are probably struck during the reign of her successor, Edward VII, her son. This is a 1900, the last full year she reigned. Pretty typical 1900. They tend to show up pretty worn, just like this. It's not bad though, there's no major damage, no discoloration or anything. So there we've got a 1900 penny. There's that shilling, I already showed you that. Yeah, what have we got here? We have got a silver threepence, or threepenny bit, as they used to be called. Got a threepenny bit. These were struck up until, I believe, 1945. after 1941, if memory serves, they were only struck for circulation in the colonies, but they tended to filter their way back to Britain anyway. There is only a single example known of the 1945 silver threepenny bit. They were replaced by the nickel brass threepence in the first issued in 1937, and that continued until the last threepences were minted late in the 1960s. This one is 50% silver, 50% copper, just like all the silver coins after 1920. 1942, this one, during the Second World War. Again, not a new one. The silver threepenny bit was a new one, so was the 1920 penny and the 1900, but this is not a new one. This is one I've had for a couple of years now, but I just wanted to show it off because it is one of my all-time favourite coins, and this is the 1797 cartwheel twopence. One of the largest coins ever issued. Look how thick that thing is. It is 2 ounces of pure copper. Now, these were made in 1797 and in 1798, but they all bore the date 1797, just like their counterparts, the cartwheel pennies. I've had several cartwheel pennies in my collection over the years, but this is the first time I've had a twopence. So, as you can tell, this is kind of a special coin for me. These were made partway through the reign of George III, who reigned from 1760 to 1820. The cartwheel penny was made in quite large numbers, about 40 million of them altogether. The twopence, not so much. The twopence has a mintage of, I'm not sure exactly, but I believe it's only a few million, if that. So they tend to be rarer than the penny. This one, as you can tell, is pretty worn. They often show up in pretty worn condition because they circulated right up until 1870, when all the copper pennies were withdrawn from circulation. But yes, these were all made at the Soho Mint in Birmingham. The proprietor was Matthew Bolton. He and James Watt invented the steam presses that were used to make them, and those steam presses were later adopted by the Royal Mint in London. Alright, we got another silver threepenny bit. This one is 1919, so this is 92% silver. We got George V on the obverse there, fairly typical condition for it to show up in. Yeah, this would have circulated for about 25 years, probably. Yeah, these are 92% silver, so they are anything pre-1920 is 92% silver. It became economically prohibitive to mint them in that fineness after the First World War, so they debased the coinage essentially. Here's and I drop it again. 1919 silver threepenny. Yep, another halfpenny. This one is one of the new acquisitions, as was the silver threepenny bit. This is a 1902. So the first date for Edward VII's coins. All the coins made in 1901 bore the image of Queen Victoria, although they were probably made during Edward's reign. This one is in pretty decent condition for a 1902 halfpenny. The halfpennies often turn up even more worn than the pennies. They were spent more, they were circulated more, and they circulated right up until 1970. But this one obviously has had a quite limited circulation. Somebody took it out of circulation after not a very long time and kept it to themselves, and now it's turned up in my coin collection. So that's a 1902 halfpenny, or halfpenny if you want. Everybody just referred to it as a halfpenny back then, but Technically the correct name was halfpenny, but everyone just called it a halfpenny, kind of like threepenny bit for the threepence. Alright, so let's grab us another penny. This one is another one of the new acquisitions, the 26, the pack of 26 coins. This is 1953, the first year in which coinage was minted bearing the name and portrait of Queen Elizabeth II. This 1953 is in pretty decent condition. It still has some of its mint luster left on it and very little wear. One can almost imagine that it got taken out of a mint set and went into circulation. 1953s were originally only supposed to be made for mint sets, but a lot of people wanted a circulating coin from the first year of Elizabeth's reign, so they did actually mint some for circulation. The mintage figures are a little confusing for the 1953 penny, and the mintage is listed at about 1.5 million, give or take, but nobody knows whether that was the mintage for the mint sets or if that was the mintage for circulation. Some folks like Paul from Coin Patrol, shout out there, think that it was the figure that was put into circulation rather than the figure made for mint sets. He also made I believe a Freedom of Information request to the Royal Mint a while back about that. I don't know if he ever heard back from them. So, as far as I know, the question is still up in the air, but there it is, a very nice 1953 penny. Another pound coin from the 26 coin pack that I bought. This is from the first year of issue of the brass pound coin, 1983. The very first pound coins issued in the UK, decimal ones anyway. This shows the shield, the Royal Arms, with what looks like a lion on the left and a unicorn on the right. The motto below is, I believe, the motto of the Order of the Garter, but I can't tell because of the wear. That's surmounted by a helm and crown and what looks like another heraldic lion. And the four quarters show the three lions of England, the harp of Northern Ireland, and the rampant lion of Scotland. And on the obverse we've got Queen Elizabeth, the second portrait by Arnold Machin, I believe that's how you pronounce it, and Queen's titles Dei Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor 1983. And I forgot to mention on the other pound coin, but the round pounds, round nickel brass pound coins, had inscriptions on the edges. Now if I can get my camera to focus, that would be great. Seems to not want to focus, but the inscription on the edge of the 1983 pound coin is Decus et Tutamen, which in Latin means an ornament and a safeguard, which is a reference to the fact that edge inscriptions were originally designed to prevent clipping of the coins, since hammered coins were notorious for being clipped. People would clip the edges off the coins to melt down the silver or the gold or whatever. So yeah, another pound coin. And this, from the same batch, is a 20 pence from the UK. These were first issued in 1982. A seven-sided 20 pence coin made of copper nickel. This one is from 1988. They all feature the same reverse design up until about, I believe, 2008. And the reverse design is the Tudor rose surmounted by a crown with the value at the bottom in numbers and around the edge in words, and the date. And we have the third portrait of Elizabeth on this one that was adopted in 1985 by Raphael Maclouf. And again, the Queen's name and titles. And here we have another pound coin. This one is the fourth portrait of the Queen, Ian Rank Broadley's, originally appearing in 1998. We've got the Queen's titles, name again, and here we've got the date 2003. So that's a 2003. On the edge we have Decus et Tutamon again. The edge inscriptions did vary on the round pounds. This one's in better condition than the 1983. I mean, it was made 20 years later. So you can see the royal arms more clearly there. Yeah, this one's from 1983, 20th anniversary of the round brass pound coin. Yeah, we got us another penny. 1929, George V, the Queen's grandfather. We got his name and titles here. Georgius V, Dei Gratia Britanniarum Omnium Rex Fidei Defensor Indiae Imperator. George V, by the grace of God, King of all the Britons, Defender of the Faith, and Emperor of India. And on the obverse here is a modified form of the Bertram McKennell bust of the King. This is the small head design, first adopted in 1928, and that was what finally solved the problem of ghosting. The small head was struck in slightly lower relief compared to the earlier coins. And as you can see on the reverse, you have Britannia with the trident, the sea in the background. And the pennies from 1928 onwards tend to show up in slightly better condition than those earlier in George V's reign. I don't know if they changed the metal composition or what, but yeah, they tend to show up with less wear and less damage on them. Could just be from fewer years in circulation. Who knows? Anyway, 1929 penny. And here we got us another silver threepenny bit. This one is 1916. And again, this comes from the 26 pack of coins. The all the pennies except for the 1953, by the way, and the 1919 KN, all the pennies came from a pack of 6 pennies that I bought around the same time as the 26 pack of coins. All these silver threepenny bits, 20 pences, round pounds, the silver shilling, and the 1902 halfpenny, the 1953 penny, they all came from the 26 pack. So that's some useless information that you really probably weren't interested in, but there it is anyway. So that's a 1916 threepenny bit, again with the same titles of the King, George V. 1916 was the year of the Battle of the Somme during World War I. The coins were still being made from 92.5% sterling silver at the time. That's another pound coin. This one's a little discoloured. Looks like it's been through the ringer a bit. This is from 1985, the first year that the Maclouf third portrait of the Queen was adopted. Elizabeth II, Dei Gratia Regina Fidei Defensor, 1985. And the 1985 pound coin shows on its reverse a crowned leek representing Wales. And there is a Welsh legend around this edge of this one, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right when I say Pleidiol Wolf Imgulat. I probably really butchered the Welsh pronunciation there, but I would need to look up to see what it means because it's been a while. But I can check that, and when I edit this video, I'll throw the translation up on the screen for you. So that's 1985 pound coin. Another 20 pence here. This one from 1982 as the first year of issue of the 20 pence coin. The first decimal coins to go into circulation were the 10 pence and 5 pence in 1968, then followed by the 50 pence in 1969, the penny, half penny and 2 pence in 1971, and then after that the 20 pence was the next one to be issued. First year of issue was 1982. You can see the Machin portrait of the Queen, Elizabeth II, DG Reg FD. On the reverse we've got the crown rose and the date and the denomination. 20 pence doesn't have any graining or inscription on the edge. So that's 1982, 20 pence. There's another round pound here. Again, the Ian Rank Broadley portrait of the Queen, and this is, whoops, nearly dropped it there. This one is another 2003, so 20th anniversary of the round pound, which is probably why they used the original design on the reverse. And again, decus et tutamen, an ornament and a safeguard. 2003 round pound coin, nickel brass. Oh, look what we got here. We have a young head Victorian penny. This one from 1884. Pretty worn. Usually show up very worn condition. In fact, they often show up far worse than this. And we got Victoria, De Gratia Britanniarum Regina Fidei Defensor. Victoria, by the grace of God, of the Britain's Queen, defender of the faith. 1 penny, almost completely worn off the reverse legend there. 1884. We got Britannia on the reverse. You can just about make out the lighthouse, and the ship that's normally there has been completely worn away. They did age the portrait of the Queen slightly on the bronze coinage in 1874. I believe they made her neck thicker and her chin a little more prominent. Other than that, the portrait remained completely unchanged on the bronze coinage from 1860 to 1894, at which point it was replaced by the veiled head portrait that had gone onto the gold and silver coinage in 1893. The Jubilee head, which appeared on the gold and silver coinage from 1887 to 92, never appeared on the bronze coins. That's 1884 Victorian penny. What we got here? Another 1919, and this is not one from the pack of 26 or the pack of 6. This is one that was already in my collection. And I'm just showing it off because this is another 1919 with a mint mark, and this is a 1919 with an H mint mark. This was made at the Heaton Mint in Birmingham, Ralph Heaton and Sons. They had occasionally minted pennies for the Royal Mints from the 1870s onwards. 1919 would mark the last year in which they did so. We got the King's head on the obverse, fairly worn example. George V, by the grace of God, of all the Britain's King, defender of the faith and Emperor of India, but you can see the BM on the neck of the King's bust. Bertram McKennell, the designer. On the reverse you can make out the C behind Britannia. And 1 penny, and you can see a little bit of ghosting there as well on the reverse of the coins. That's 1919 Heaton Works penny. Yeah, that's another 20 pence. 1982 again, first year of issue. This one looks to be in somewhat better condition than the other one. Probably circulated less, a little bit shiny there even. I don't think that's a result of someone trying to polish that up. I think that's legit. So it looks like it's had a very limited circulation. You can see all the details on the leaves and thorns on the rose there. Quite a bit of the detail of the Queen's hair there. A few scratches and nicks, but not bad. That's a pretty good example of a 1982 20 pence. And we got another thorny bit. this one is 1926. So this would be 50% silver, 50% copper. 1926 was the last year of George V's second coinage in silver. The first coinage was the sterling silver coinage from 1911 to 1919. The second coinage was 1920 to 26, before the introduction of the modified effigy. The design of the silver coins was changed in 1927, but here we see the previous reverse design, which had been used all the way back to the early 1800s. This one is 1926, George V, silver threepenny bit. Alright, so we've come to the last penny in this little batch. This is one of the batch of 6 that I bought. This is a 1916 penny. Someone's had a go at it there. There's a big ding out on the top there. Almost looks like someone's trying to drill a hole through it for some reason, but it was obviously a long time ago. In the 1916 pennies, you can get what's called a recessed ear variety. That was to try and fix the ghosting issue where they recessed the king's ear deeper into the portraits. You would also see a broken tooth above the colon between the Brit and the on in the recessed ear variety, but this isn't. This is just a common one. The recessed ear variety is a little rarer. For one in this condition, you'd pay maybe £20. But this is just a common one, just worth a couple of quid. Especially in this condition, it's quite heavily worn. Usually turn up in about this condition, but that is a 1916 penny. I think we're down to nothing but threepenny bits and 20 pences now. So here's another 20 pence, and this is a very special 20 pence. Not because of the coin itself, it's a typical example of a 20 pence with the third portrait of the Queen, the Makhlouf portraits. But this was struck in 1991, the year of the founding of the BLS Coin Collectors Club. So that makes it special, in my book at least. 1991 might not have any meaning for you at all, but for me it does. So that's kind of special. 1991, 20 pence coin. Alright, and we got George V's third silver coinage. Silver threepenny bit there, 1932. Let's see if I can get this to focus. For some reason the camera's gone dark. But 1932 there. Silver threepenny bits. Fairly decent condition there with the modified effigy of the king on the obverse. They changed the design of the coinage in 1927, and we have 3 oak leaves and acorns. So that would mean 3 pence. The 6 pence had a similar design, only it had 6. So that's 1932. Silver threepenny bit. That's another 20 pence. Another 1982 there. First year of issue. Fairly typical example. The Machin portraits. Not a whole lot of wear. It's in relatively decent condition. Somebody must have saved that. That's 1982. 20 pence coin. Let's grab another. We got us another 20 pence coin. There's a shiny one here. This one is from 2003. So 21 years after the 20 pence was first issued. Here we have the Ian Rank Broadley, 4th portrait of the Queen on the obverse, DG Reg FD, Elizabeth II, 2003, 20 pence coin. Alright, so let's keep going. We got us another threepenny bit here. 1913. It's pretty early on in the reign of King George V. 92% sterling silver here. And I drop it again. I'm always dropping coins. What's up with that? Looks like something has had a bit of a go at it on the obverse here. I'm not sure if that's discoloration or if that's pitting or what, but yeah, it looks a little funky on the obverse there. Otherwise, in fairly typical condition. 1913 silver threepenny bit there. 1913, of course, was the year before World War I started. This, 1933, another silver threepenny bit. This one in 50% silver, not sterling silver, of course. That stopped being used after 1919, but 1933 silver threepenny bit, rather more common than its counterpart, the legendary 1933 penny, of which only 7 were minted, at least that we know of, and only 6 of them are accounted for today. This is 1933 silver threepenny bit. Here we got us another 20 pence. This one is 1988. 1988. Makhlouf portrait of the Queen on the obverse. First introduced in 1985, used up until 1997. The Ian Rank Broadley portrait replaced it in 1998. 1988, 20 pence. Oh, and I am going to put the mintage figures for all these coins on the screen when I edit the video. Here's another 20 pence. I think it's the last one in this little hoard. We're getting towards the end now. Thank God, I hear you cry. This is 1993 20 pence. Again, the Makhlouf portrait of the Queen. Pretty decent condition for 1993. It's got a ding on the edge there. Otherwise, pretty decent for a coin that could have been circulating by now for over 30 years. Yes, 1993 20 pence. So we got 3 more to go, and it's all threepenny bits. This one is rather discoloured, but it is a 1922, 50% silver, 50% copper. King George's head on the obverse. This one is pretty heavily worn. It's not in very good condition at all, but it adds to my threepenny bit date run. But it will be definitely a candidate for an upgrade later on. 1922 silver threepence. This one is rather nicer. 1935. Fairly decent condition. Probably had a more limited circulation. The modified effigy of the king on the obverse. It's 1935. Again, 50% silver, 50% copper for these. That mixture was used up until 1946, after which the silver coins were replaced by copper nickel. But the silver threepenny bit had already stopped being minted in 1945, so that didn't affect it. 1935 silver threepenny bit. And now we get to the very last coin in this impromptu little video. This is another threepenny bit. This one is George VI, and it is 1938. And on the reverse of this one, we've got a cruciform shield on a rose. On the obverse, we have the king's portrait with some of his titles: George VI, DG Brut Rex, George VI, by the grace of God of all the Britons king. And on the reverse, we've got has the rest of his titles: Fidei Defensor, India Imperator, Defender of the Faith, Emperor of India. So that's 1938 silver threatening bits. So that's about it for this little haul, and about it for this video. I hope you enjoyed my content. As always, please give me a like and a subscribe, and if you enjoyed it, leave me a comment. I hope everybody has a great night, and I shall see you in the next video.